My cell phone slipped right out of my hand and hit the floor with a thud. The screen still glowed, showing the picture. It was my daughter, Hope, in a wedding gown, smiling next to a man I barely knew. Hope, did you get married?
Yeah, Mama.
Yesterday. On the other end of the line, I could hear the sounds of the street, cars, footsteps, voices, everything but excitement. Why didn't you tell me? Why wasn't I invited?
It was just a small thing, Mama.
Only family. That word hammered in my head.
Family.
I picked up the phone, stared at that frozen smile on the screen, and understood. Maybe I had become an afterthought, a detail outside the frame. I deleted the picture, and in the silence that remained, a question formed that I still can't answer. What does a mother do when she stops being family? My name is Clara May Harrison, and for 67 years I believed family was everything. I raised my daughter Hope alone after my husband Elijah passed away. I worked cleaning houses for two different families, the Rodwells and the Millers, to pay for her college. I saved every single dollar, so she could have the wedding of her dreams. I always imagined I'd be right there beside her at the altar holding her hand, watching her realize the biggest dream of any woman. But last Tuesday, as I was having my morning coffee and checking my phone, I saw a picture on Facebook that changed everything. There was Hope in a white dress next to her husband, Devin Hayes. The only people with them were his parents, Franklin and Eleanor Hayes. My eyes scanned every detail of that image multiple times. Hope was radiant, smiling like I had never seen her smile before. And the caption read, "Our special day, family complete. Family complete without me." There was no invitation, no conversation, no explanation. I found out my daughter got married the same way any stranger finds news on the internet. My heart broke in a way I hadn't even felt when Elijah passed. Sitting there in my kitchen in Atlanta with the mug shaking in my hand, I realized that to Hope I might no longer exist as a mother, but merely as an inconvenient memory of the past. I called her 3 times that day. They all went straight to voicemail. I sent messages pretending I hadn't seen anything, asking if everything was okay, if she needed anything. The response only came late that afternoon. "I'm fine, Mama. We'll talk later. We'll talk later." As if her own daughter's wedding was a minor issue that could be put off. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized I had spent my entire life being a mother to someone who no longer needed me. And in that silence of the early morning, a new Clara May began to wake up inside me. Over the next few days, memories came in like ocean waves. I remembered when Hope was 5 years old and got pneumonia. I worked all day cleaning the Rodwell family's home in Buckhead and sewed at night for the Miller family in Sandy Springs. For 15 days, I barely slept 3 hours a night, taking care of her, driving her to the doctor, buying those expensive medicines. When she finally recovered, she hugged me and said, "Mama, when I grow up, I'm going to get married, and you're going to be the prettiest maid of honor in the world." Those words had lived in my heart for more than 20 years. I also remembered her sweet 16 party. I had been saving for 2 years to throw her a memorable celebration. I sold some jewelry for my marriage. I worked extra shifts on the weekends. I deprived myself of basic things. We rented the Magnolia Room in the Midtown neighborhood. I bought the most beautiful dress I could find. I hired a great DJ. I prepared all the soul food myself. That day, Hope told me I was the best mother in the world, that she would remember everything I had done for her forever. The guests commented that the love was visible in every detail of the party. I thought about the everyday sacrifices. The mornings I got up at 5 o'clock to make her breakfast before school. The afternoons I spent helping her with homework, even though I hadn't finished high school myself. The nights I stayed awake, waiting for her when she was out with friends, worrying about her safety. The Sundays I brought a pot of collard greens and ham hocks to Annie Dolores's house, so Hope could spend time with her father's family. When she went to college to study business administration, I increased my work hours. I cleaned the Rodwells' house Monday through Friday, and on weekends I worked catering social events, serving tables. I wanted her to focus only on studying, not worrying about money. Every time my knees ached after so many hours on my feet or when my hands cracked from cleaning, I thought about the bright future Hope would have thanks to her education. During those college years, she began to change subtly. She didn't come straight home after class anymore. She had study sessions, group projects, extracurricular activities. On weekends, she went out with friends. I didn't know to places that were completely foreign to me. When I asked about her day, the answers got shorter, more distant.
It was fine, Mama.
I'll tell you later. But later never came. It was during her final year of college that she met Devin Hayes. The first time she mentioned him, I noticed a special light in her eyes. She talked about him constantly, how smart he was, how he came from a good family, how he had ambitious plans for the future. I was happy to see her happy, but I also felt a pang of something I couldn't identify. Then it was as if Devin represented a world I didn't belong to, a future where there wouldn't be space for a mother who cleaned other people's homes. The first time Devin came over for dinner, I cooked baked mac and cheese, fried chicken, candied yams, cornbread, and sweet tea. I put in more effort than ever. I wanted to make a good impression. Devin was polite and courteous, but I noticed his eyes scanning our small home with an expression I couldn't decipher. Hope seemed nervous, constantly explaining things as if she had to justify our way of living. "Your house is very nice, Mrs. Harrison," Devin said when he left. But there was something in his tone that made me feel like he had said the opposite. That night, Hope told me I had been too intense, asking so many questions about his family, his job, and his plans. "Mama, not everyone is like us, sharing their whole life in the first conversation." That was the first time I felt I was being viewed as a problem to solve. From then on, Devin's visits became less frequent. When he came, the conversations were more superficial, more formal. Hope started spending more time with him, coming home later and later. Sunday family gatherings became occasional, then sporadic until they disappeared completely. "Devin and I have plans" became the most common phrase in her vocabulary. When Hope graduated, I was so proud I cried through the entire ceremony. She had achieved what I never could, finishing a college degree. She was going to have opportunities one never had. After graduation, we went to celebrate at a nice restaurant in Dekar. Devin had also invited his parents, Franklin and Eleanor Hayes. It was the first time I met them formally. Franklin was a manager at a big company in Sandy Springs. Eleanor had been a teacher for many years before retiring. They talked about trips, fancy restaurants, and Broadway shows. I tried to participate in the conversation, but I felt like a fish out of water. When I mentioned that I worked cleaning houses, there was an awkward silence that Hope quickly filled by changing the subject.